their seed. And in fact, they've actually created the compact. Have you talked about that yet?
Sorry, which?
The multinational companies, the compact on liability.
No.
So the 7 multinational companies have created a liability compact which runs out of The Hague in Europe, and all the cases of liability related to GM seed goes to the arbitration court in The Hague. And the companies have agreed that they will pay for all their investigations and they will pay for all the costs related. So the companies have taken on full liability for their seed and their products. But what they can't do is strict liability for other people misusing their seed. That they can't.
Maybe a follow-up. Maybe I'll need to understand more about what is it, strict liability fund. As far as I understand, there is duty of care. And for you to get compensated or to be responsible, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that it is the Monsanto product that has caused the loss or injury to the farmer.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is right to say that the regulations are so broad that they didn't take care, they don't consider the distance of the cause of the loss and what is claimed. So I think the companies should go forth and do their business with the existing regulations, because what scares the regulators and what maybe it's a concern of the regulators, why should the companies want us to change the regulations if their products are safe?
Okay, so I understand your concern, and I'm not saying get rid of your liability laws. You already have liability laws. And why are they not sufficient? Because they look at negligence and due care already. So why have you added on to this strict liability? And in the case of strict liability, the companies can't operate. So you need to talk to them directly and understand why. But they're not saying we don't want liability. They have accepted full liability for environmental consequences of their crops in this compact all over the world. But they will not accept strict liability. So if it's a case where they have no control over their seed being used by somebody illegally, they will not take responsibility. But if they had control, they will take responsibility.
I think quickly, we discussed this yesterday. There's a definition that I searched for. Strict liability, the absolute legal responsibility without proof of carelessness or fault. So you see, that's the problem. What you explain in your own words is liability. But what the regulatory frameworks have in place is strict liability.
So without proof, all you have to do is say it's their fault and they're liable, and they won't accept that. If you take that case to the court, in arbitration court in The Hague, and The Hague finds they were liable, they've already agreed to pay for damages for that. But they want that assurance.
I don't understand the reason why under the strict liability there is no need to prove a case. Is it that it cannot be proved? If Monsanto can get the information and prove that that seed which killed those birds, I had used some other chemicals which I added on that seed to kill, will they still be held liable because it's under strict liability?
Well, it depends on your government, but under strict liability, your government can still hold them liable. Whether your government chooses to or not will depend on the case. But as long as that strict liability is in your law, the company has no control and no regress. If you say they were responsible for 35 farmers dying in this area, then they're responsible. There's no chance for them to say otherwise. But under your existing liability laws that are not strict liability, then you have to have the proof. And they're happy with that. They don't have any problem with those liability laws. it sounds unreasonable, but that's exactly what it is.
It's unreasonable because
And Henny just read the definition for you. You don't need any proof. You don't need any, what was the other word?
but
Carelessness, what?
Careless. You don't need to have shown that you were careless.
But I don't understand why, because the courts of law need proof beyond any reasonable doubt. That is normal. Why is there something different in this GMO? Why?
There isn't. There shouldn't be. And that's what the companies are saying. Because you've put us under a different regulatory regime, and we can't accept that. So, one more comment, and then I think we're not going to get to Ebola and high risk. But anyway,
Mine is just a comment. You know, what makes the government more skeptical is the fact that at the first place we know that there are problems with the GMOs, so they have to take care of their people. So if we didn't have any problems with, there were no problems with GMOs, there won't be this state liability and all those things.
so I think the first point you make is there are problems with GMOs. So, where in the world have GMOs, I'm going to ask you two questions. Where in the world has a GMO killed a person or a community? And where in the world has a GMO caused irreversible environmental harm? Examples? Nowhere.
Just a moment.
Yes.
I think some of the things take a long time
Yeah.
for you to come up with some of these results. And you were talking like in South Africa, talking about 16 years. I mean, it may not be enough, but 16 years may not be enough. Because like maybe some of these things will come up maybe after 50 years, the next generation. It may not be this generation. It's just a comment.
Yeah, and it's a valid point. But at some point, your government
So you want
has
to
to
regulate
decide.
now for something that
There
doesn't
we've
exist?
got- Let's say this is farmer benefit. All right? So that your farmers know that the South African farmers, when they started to grow GM cotton, they got benefits. That's why farmers in South Africa grow GM cotton, even smallholder farmers. Because the smallholder farmers grow GM cotton, they've had this benefit. You as a regulator can say, we're not happy with this time frame. Okay, so we've said this is 16 years. So my question to you as a regulator is, what is a good time frame? And what you're saying is your farmers must not have that benefit for that period of time until you've decided there's enough time and they can access the benefit. So there's a socioeconomic impact straight away in your regulatory decision. And one of the things that I learned from the USDA is they had this discussion when they looked at insect resistance. And everything they knew about pesticides told them that if they grow BT cotton on all their acreage over many years, the farmers will get this benefit, and then suddenly the insects will become resistant, and they're going to have a crash. Whereas all this benefit will reverse because of resistance to the technology. But the USDA said, in their weighing up, do we deny the farmers this benefit because we know this is going to happen? Or do we allow them this benefit and manage this to stop it happening? So as regulators, you have ways in which to deal with time frames and benefit. These are all important questions, all good thinking that I'm hearing here. Sorry, one more question here.
Sorry, mine is not a question, it's just a comment, and maybe responding to your diagram there, where we say, as regulators, should we allow our farmers to lose that benefit, so that we wait for 2050 or 2070 for them to start benefiting? I think because of the current situation that are prevailing in those countries, it's not going to be like that. Because they have a host of challenges where governments might be rationale to say, this is very topical, and it has got so many unanswered questions. Why concentrate on this? Why not concentrate on this which we can improve and the farmer benefit? Say we are not for cotton, I am not quite sure of cotton. Say we are talking of maize. The farmer is, I think I said this last time. The farmer currently is producing 500 kgs per acre, using a seed variety which has got a potential of 14. And then you look at it, it's not the variety, the seed variety, but it is the agronomic practice. The farmer is not skilled. We need to capacitate. The farmer doesn't have access to inputs, adequate inputs timely, and we need to improve on that. If he's going to move from 500 kgs to say 6 tons,